This is Life's a Pitch TV. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lackens, all about hearing. Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year: Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation. I think that's catching on. Well done, capacity crowd. Welcome. And welcome to the DPS Tech Arena for this week's edition of Life's Pitch TV. I'm Mark Murphy. Let me introduce you to the team. No Terry Butcher this week, but we do have Russell Osman. Chambo. And on technicals, we have Richard, John and Mark. And our floor manager is Leslie Dolphin. And we have the Churchman stand sponsored by John Keeble Cars. And the North stand sponsored by Ashford Wright. We're on YouTube, we're on podcast, and we're on Suffolk Sound, and you are most welcome. Tonight we've got the Footy Challenge, the Table Footy Challenge. We've got On This Day in ITFC History, Ask the Legends, Player of the Week, and all the usual features. But we need a special guest. He's drawn the biggest crowd of the season so far. Give it up for Mark Ashton, everybody!
That's what he does it for. That right there.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Lots happened in the last 12 months since you were here before.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Well, it's great to see you. We're all really thrilled that you're here, and lots to talk about on the programme tonight. Let's go back, because you were here about 12 months ago. We were in the Championship back in those days, and my goodness me, what a season that was last season.
It's still hard to believe, to be honest with you. If I'm really honest, I think it's still sunk in. I'm not sure it will for quite a while, because since we've got promoted, it's just been so busy preparing and getting ready for the Premier League. But it's been a roller coaster of a ride for me since I arrived in Suffolk, about 3 years ago. It's gone so quick. A few more grey hairs, a few more wrinkles, and a few more promotions.
Well, I expect you're grateful for some of those, but not all of those facts, you know. Yes. But last year was, and the year before, were just tremendous for us. You know, we were on fire, weren't we? Week in, week out. We'll talk about the Premier League in a moment or two, and I think we've had a cracking start, actually, bearing in mind what a big jump it is, and so soon to go up after, you know, a couple of years in lower leagues. But last season was very special, though, wasn't it, towards the end? When did you really think that actually this is going to be our year?
I was talking to someone about this the other day, actually. When we played the Coventry game, you were there at the Coventry game. I've been in this industry a long time. I've found that game hard, emotionally hard. And after the game, friends and family said the cameras kept zooming in on you, Mark, and you just didn't look right. Trevor Birch, the CEO of the Football League, was sat next to me. He came and said, "Are you okay? I've never seen you like this." And it was just a weight that I felt sat on my shoulders that night. And when we got that result, when the boys found a way to win, I knew we'd done it. There was no way anyone was going to take that off them. But that night was tough. Hull was tough leading into that period of games. But the Coventry game, the whole weight of expectation of a club, a town, a county, 20 years of hurt needed to be dealt with and swept away. I felt every ounce of that last night.
Because there was a point when no one of the top teams there really wanted to get across the line, wasn't it? Everybody was sort of like, "Oh, let's get a bit further," and would have a little setback and whatever. It was real jostling, wasn't it, at the end there?
It was, and we had an away game, and I remember being in the team hotel with Kieran and the lads, and we'd just eaten dinner, and Leeds were playing QPR at QPR, and there was 4 or 5 of us left in the dining room. I was sat next to Kieran, and there was a couple of lads who got the iPads on and the phones on, and they're watching the games, and my phone kept buzzing, the live score, 1-0, 2-0. And Kieran and I looked at each other and almost just went, "Ooh, this just got this just got very real." And then I stood up and left and left the room. I didn't want to, and didn't look at the result till the end. And then you almost start computing the possibilities, and you're thinking, "Okay, this is now in our hands here." But to know that, and then for the boys to get us across the line, I think as the line gets closer, it gets harder. The tension builds, the expectation builds. But going into the Huddersfield game, I actually felt really calm going into that game. I just felt, the lads, I'd seen them at the training ground on the Friday morning. I'd seen the staff, I'd seen Kieran. It was absolutely process as normal, discipline, focused, on it. I felt after the Coventry game we were going to get this done.
It's nice the boys here, because as players, I mean, in the media we always say, what's happening elsewhere, and what comes out of the club is, no, we're focused on what's happening for us, and we're not looking elsewhere. But you do, don't you? You do sort of look at the scores, don't you?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, as a player, you want it in your hands, and that's all you ever asked for. And the way they got the job done the year before, and then kept that consistent core, they'd experienced a sort of pressure like that. But obviously the Championship to the Premier League is the golden prize. But what I saw when I was at that game, and I was there 3 hours before kickoff, and I saw all the boys, I saw Kieran, we all had a chat. It was just like no pressure on them. They'd almost become accustomed to that preparation, that level of like calmness, that it was just literally another game for them. And I just found that incredible. But I think that just showed the character, the culture of what had been created over 18 months or however long it was. And I had no doubt they were going to play a very good Coventry side, and I think they'd have lots of momentum behind them as well. But it was just never in any doubt that they would falter, and they proved us right, really.
What about you, Russ?
Yeah, I think everybody, in the top 3, Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester, Leeds, top 4, if you like. I think by the time we got to the end of the season, everybody got used to everybody having a bit of a blip somewhere down the line. Southampton started poorly that season. We beat them down there, didn't we? And I think by the time you got to the final end of the season, nothing was going to be a surprise for anybody. 1 or 2 surprise results happened, and it was all just taken in your stride. If you had a bad result yourself, it's going to happen. And it's just the team that keeps the consistency as high as possible is the team that's going to come out. Because everybody had a little up and down spell, but we were magnificent. Simple as that. Yeah.
The scenes on the day we got promoted were incredible, weren't they? Outside the ground. I mean, I was inside the ground at that point because I was doing the stadium announcing last season. We had it all on the monitors that we were looking at, and some of you here, I'm sure, were outside with all the blue smoke and everything going on, and the bus arriving and all that kind of stuff.
That was every game, though.
You're probably right, actually. Yes, it certainly was.
I thought you said you were in the Greyhound there, not outside the ground. I was in the ground. I didn't see you there.
No, just in the ground. What was it like for you, Mark? Because you went out and soaked all that up, didn't you? I think you got a bit blue stained on one occasion, didn't you?
Yeah, I think part of it is still really blurry, because when we go into match day -1, match day, not only to the team and Kieran, but the team that sits behind the team, the operational team at Playford Road and Portman Road are so disciplined now. Everybody to the minute knows their roles, knows their jobs. So you fall into that discipline of, we're going to stick to the process. We stick to the process. But that day, the process, everything was just that little bit more heightened. And I think we played Norwich at home, those that shall not be named, earlier in the season. And we were approached for the first time to do, the fans welcome. And I remember being approached by, I think it was Blue Action. They wanted to do it. We said, okay. I got no idea what to expect. We probably thought 600-700 fans. There was like 7,000. And, I know Kieran and the lads who'd been at United previously said they've been in top European nights and not witnessed anything like this. And the fans did the same again for the final game, but it just got bigger.
Yeah, it was incredible. And arriving, you had to be there early. Well, I was working that day. I was in the most privileged position ever. Like, Mark's got all the pressure. I'm there just soaking it all in. It's like, this is incredible. But to see that, and they were there in their thousands 2 hours, 3 hours before kickoff, and it's just unheard of. And that is memories for a generation, let alone for a year. Like, that is the likes that will not happen again for a long, long time, just in the way that the club had been where they have been over 20 years. And it's just that moment, even for me as like an ex-player or as a fan or someone coming to their first Ipswich game, and even for a Huddersfield fan, to see that was what every single fan would ever clamour for in football. You know, it's just, to this day, like, gives me goosebumps, and I'm not even involved in it. It was just brilliant.
In your day, Russ, when you were, taking on big European teams, winning cups and the like, we didn't see scenes like that, did we?
No, only when we eventually got back to the town centre with the trophy. So we had to make sure we won something to be able to put it on display, and then, boy, we had good parties then. If you see the pictures from the corn exchange, whether it was 78, whether it was 81, but it just shows you. And I think Mark mentioned it very early on when he joined Ipswich Town Football Club, how surprised he was that there was so many supporters coming back to watch Ipswich Town play, because the new regime has suddenly given Ipswich Town its identity back again. So everybody that was an Ipswich Town supporter that had been disillusioned for 20-odd years suddenly gained interest in the club again, and the club was presented to them as a club with this footballing identity. Good stock of players, playing nice football and being able to hold their own and getting promotion back up to where we are now. So it's fantastic.
What I wanted to ask, Mark, is you mentioned the processes of the team behind the team, etc., etc. Is that something you always implemented at previous clubs, or is it something that you worked on with the new ownership group, something that you implemented, or with Kieran, or how does that come about for you to then set that culture for everyone?
I think, look, the staff who know me and work for me, some have worked for me at other football clubs, I have a model of operation, which, funny enough, we had a board meeting last week, and we always report against the model that I operate under, and the model won't change for me. It breaks the club down into its 4 core components, which is football, community, commercial and operations, underpinned by culture. That model always stays the same. I think, a couple of my staff, or one of my staff's here with me tonight, a lot of people talk about hard work, then they work with me and they work with Kieran, and they understand what our level of hard work is, because it's an obsession. It has to be an obsession. I said to you, I think I said to Russ when I first came here, I underestimated the size of this football club. I underestimated how run down and underinvested and how poorly run it had been. And Chambo just said something there. One of the things that probably, again, I underestimated was the amount of grandparents and great-grandparents that came and saw me, wrote to me, spoke to me and said, "You brought my family back together. My grandchild has never been to it, was never interested. Now he and she is interested, and they've come back as a family. We back." And I saw that time and time and time again. And what I saw was a group of people, which I'm very privileged to lead, just wipe away in an instant 20 years of absolute hurt and pain, and bring back the smiles and happiness to an amazing county.
Well, I think that deserves a round of applause. I don't know about you.
We need you to take over England, Mark. Make a chance of winning something.
Not yet, thank you. Not just yet. No, let's have a few more years first.
But the difference between a Bristol City and Ipswich, was it just Kieran McKenna, or is it everything that comes with it?
No, Russ and I were talking about this earlier. It's the dynamics of each club are very, very different. And I know I've said this before, and some people think it's just words. I'm blessed with an ownership group who allowed me to put a structure in place when we acquired this football club. They own it, I run it. and there's a fundamental difference between the two. They'll tell you that their expertise is in their businesses, very wealthy people, but they're bright enough to understand they don't understand the nuances of football. So they expect me to write a plan, explain the plan, they challenge me on the plan, but once we've agreed it, they let me run it, and they empower me. It's like pumping rocket fuel into me every single day. Come on, faster, more, deliver more. We can do better. We can do bigger. We can sign more players. Trust me, at times I have to say to him, no, we've signed enough. This is ultimately Kieran's decision when the player comes in. We've got to get the balance of the squad right. But I think they've all fallen in love with the club and with the town and the county. But I think for me, the difference is that the model stays the same. Here, I'm just empowered every single day to look at what's in front of me. I'm never worried about people playing games or what's over my shoulder. Just build the football club. We'll put more money in. We'll put more resources in. But we want you to build it, Mark, and we want you to build it at pace. And that's what we've tried to do.
Well, they, along with everybody else, really, really enjoyed that last game of the season, which was tremendous at Portman Road. It was really fantastic, I remember the final whistle going, and then within a nanosecond, just about all of you were on the pitch, and it was just like as you say, 20 years of hurt was just unleashed and gone off our shoulders, and the joy on that pitch was immense, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible.
Again, it really, honestly, it's a little bit of a blur. I see the images, I see the videos. We're looking back at some stuff today for marketing purposes, etc. And there's so much I've missed, I haven't seen. It's just incredible. I think probably when my time has passed and I'm done here and I'm doing other things, at that point I'll probably look back and get time to realise what we did. Right now, it's only the end of the beginning. We've still got damn sight more to do, so we're at it still. But you are right, that final whistle was, and I'm being told by the police, keep him off the pitch, keep him off the pitch. I'm going, yeah, come on, you keep him off the pitch.
You'd be like, keep me off the pitch. He was leading the charge.
Were you more excited that last game of the season when you got promotion, or first game of this season when you're actually in the Premier League?
Last game of last season.
Yeah.
Last game of last season. For me, it's about the journey, not the destination. And the journey for me is the people. And by the time we get to the start of this season, some of the people have moved on. That group of people at that moment in time created something very special. As your team did, as your team did, they created something really special. And the Premier League's a different place. We've now got to adapt, and we've got to adapt pretty quickly. I think getting out of the Championship is one of the most difficult things that you can do. I think the way we did it against teams on big parachute payments, big resources, but I think we did it with a bit of style and a bit of class and a little bit of swagger in the end.
Yeah.
And
so who amongst you was on the pitch that day? Pretty much everybody.
I need your name and your name.
And I was tasked with clearing the pitch on that day, if you remember.
You did a good job.
We had a meeting the night before
Eventually.
about how to do it, and it was, Mark, in your most polite BBC voice, could you ask them to gently go back to their seats? Well, I think about half an hour or 40 minutes later, everybody did, but it was just wonderful. What a great occasion. And then the party continued, didn't it? At Isaac's in the park, and, can you remember any of that?
I remember we were, again,
It's all a blur.
I'm looking back at this because obviously these things, the bus, etc., take time to organise. And I remember Stuart Hayton literally being thrown out of my office because he dared to come in and mention we need to talk to the local authority. I'm not interested. I'm not. It's taboo to me. I don't want to know what you're doing, who's doing it. I'm not interested. We've got 2 games to go. We've got a job to do. Don't talk. Well, yeah, but the title will be too late. I don't care. Don't talk to me. So other people, and I'm still not sure who went and organised all of that, did a great job. They'd also organised that whatever happened after the game, staff were going to Isaac's, players were going to Bar 21, which is Neilos's bar who works for us. That's a pun for Neelos, by the way. And the next thing I knew, we were upstairs at Isaac's, which surely never was supposed to hold the amount of people that it did. There was like 5,000 fans down below. The place is bouncing. I'm thinking the floor's going to go through here at some point. And then, again, I wasn't out late, but it was like you drunk the town dry. It was like something out of a movie.
There were pubs that had to call out to other pubs to restock.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I go back
Quite
to it.
right.
Look, it's easy to say.
Happened in your day, Russ, every week though, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was every weekend. Yeah.
It wouldn't happen at the Dove, though.
There's another plug. Any more? Well, we're at it.
We get a few more in, I'm sure. But the day itself,
No,
I mean, the amount of people that turned out and in Christchurch Park, phenomenal.
I get quite emotional when I talk about this. The fans of this football club is something very, very, very. There is something magical, and I don't have the intelligence to put it into words or to quantify it. I felt, and I've said this before, when I joined this club 3 years ago, it was difficult leaving a club that I was happy at. It was the back end of COVID. I've been on the Football League board. I've got to give all that to come up here. I've got friends in the industry saying, "What the hell are you doing? You don't need to drop into League One." But I took a leap of faith with a group of investors and group of American owners that I believed in, and they believed in me. But this fan base, I felt from day one, took me in. And I'm forever grateful to that. Forever grateful.
Of course, you didn't stop work, did you? The Premier League wants to have, a gazillion things done to the stadium. So I think work started the following day, didn't it?
Yeah. We have this thing called Rule K. So if you're top 6, top 8 in January, you're assessed. They write a report, all the projects that you need to do. And it dropped on my desk, and I thought, oh, my God. Because, again, it's a club that hasn't been invested in for 20 years. The infrastructure just hasn't been invested in. So it was going to be a bigger turnaround than any of us ever thought. I think it was 100-plus projects. If we hadn't done the pitch the year before, I'm not sure we could have physically delivered everything we needed to deliver. But having done the pitch gave us a little bit of a head start. And it was only for the Aston Villa game that we finally had really everything done. And the majority of the fans, again, have been so good and so understanding. There's always a few who don't like moving seat. We own that seat to the centre of earth. We shall never move. And we haven't moved people because we want to move them. We've moved because we've had to change things. And again, have we got everything right on the way through? Absolutely not. But we'll learn. And we'll communicate more effectively. And we'll do things differently. But there's a group of people at the club, Mark, that have worked so hard. And I watched the 23s last night. It's the first time I'd seen the new floodlights turned on. The stadium's like 3 times as bright. But it's now like a shiny pin. It's our home, and it's come back to life. But it was a challenge, because I don't know whether you all saw the video, like when I opened the cupboard and there's a set of stairs that go nowhere. It was like this everywhere. But she's a beautiful old stadium that we've given some care and love to, and has come back to life. And I'm really proud of Portman Road now, and we'll keep to developing it over the years to come.
How much did you spend?
Too much. You're into multi millions, and remember, we that's just Portman Road. So in the summer, there has been millions spent at the training ground on what we would call small projects. We're about to head into planning permission for the new build at the training ground. You know, that's going to cost anything between 20 and 30 million. But that will give the first team state-of-the-art facilities. We currently have the worst training facilities in the Premier League. That's no one's fault. That's that our growth curve has been so quick. We haven't been able to build infrastructure quickly enough to support it. So now we've got to do that. The academy, we're going to go for Cat 1. We've started that process. The current first team facilities will be developed and handed over to the academy, and giving the women's better facilities. This is about developing a whole club for the future that we can all be proud of.
It's really interesting when you look, Russ, back at your day, you know, with the success that Mr. Robson had for so many years. And you had the practice pitch, didn't you, which is now the fan zone, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
That was it. That's where we trained most of the time. The under-18s played there on a Saturday, so South East Counties League games when I was 15, 16, first starting off, all our games were there every other Saturday morning, and then you watch the first team play at home in the afternoon. And it wasn't until sort of the last couple of years, so that's sort of the mid-80s, when we started to train up at Playford Road, just on the other side of the road there. But that was only maybe once, twice a week. But there was the first team, the reserve team, and we used the gymnasium a lot. You know, we had a magnificent facility upstairs that was on AstroTurf. Eventually, it started off with an asphalt flooring, but big enough for like a 7-8-a-side game in there. So every Monday morning we used to all dive in there for a good old 5-a-side, 6-a-side, whatever. Sweat all the beer out that the boys had drunk over the weekend, so it didn't smell too healthy in there by lunchtime. And but that's how it was. You could get a good sweat on, and go back down the pub that night.
What do you think, Chamber, when you walk into Portman Road now?
It's awesome, isn't it? Where else would you want to play your football?
The blue surround around the pitches,
just
brilliant.
The small things for me, which I was pushing for to Marcus, and I don't really know who else was running the club at the time. Just changing the dugouts.
It's just you and Marcus.
Changing the pitch, around the pitch. Not massive outlay, just to give people a sense of, people actually give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like when you go now,
when he wants.
It just, I do. Sorry, Rich. You go there, and it's you're not just going to watch a game of football. You're going for a full-on day-out experience. Absolutely everything to the detail is nailed, and Mark's not. He just said he's not got much else to do now, so he's nailed it.
Well, you can get a drink at half time, which under Marcus Evans, I've been in the stand. You nip down for a drink. No, it's closed. That kiosk is closed. That kiosk has run out, and I've heard it's a lot better now.
It is.
The other thing I would say, and some of you will have been, and we've had feedback from other I think the Premier League clubs who've been to us thus far this season are surprised. Not what they thought. They thought, oh, this is little Ipswich. You can't tell me that the atmosphere at Portman Road is not better than we witnessed at Manchester City, than we witnessed at West Ham, etc. It's electric, and this is going to be. This is the rallying call. We need it. This is going to be absolutely key to keeping us in this division. Portman Road has to be a fortress, and not just at the start. We're talking about this not just at the start of the game, the start of the second half. It's got to be as noisy again, and we've got to find ways to really raise the roof, because my God, when Portman Road is rocking, it's someplace.
Yeah, I think we saw the weekend at West Ham how they miss out moving from the old Upton Park, which was a proper football ground, not an Olympic stadium, where the pitch seems to be miles away from the support. And Portman Road is a proper football stadium.
But unless you've been on the pitch and really, like, in Mark's role as a player, like, everyone thinks, we can be the 12th man. I'm telling you now, if it is like that week in, week out, and you feel that the fans, if there's a little bit of disappointment, that's fine, that's human nature. But if you genuinely feel like that group of people are behind you, like, you feel invincible. And that's how Portman Road's been for 2 years. And you go there now, and I've played in virtually all the bloody stadiums in England, and there is nothing currently like what I've experienced over this first sort of 3 or 4 games.
I think, Mark, when you said, we're all on the journey together, and I hope I speak for everybody here and all the fans listening and watching that we are. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's not to say you're not, is it? But
no, but it's. I go back to this being a special football club. Sometimes, when I've worked at other football clubs that aren't as large as Ipswich, it's easier to turn them round because the expectations level is less, the history is less, etc. This club's so big, the county's so big, the fan base is so big. Our superpower is us pulling together, and whether that's generation after generation, whether that's the local media, whether that's the former players association, whether it's the current players, whether it's the sponsors, whether it's the council. And what I've found is this coming together has created something quite special, because only as one, we've talked about us being as one, us being together, can you actually turn this oil tanker? And I think that coming together of everyone has been a key part in us, rocket fueling this football club back-to-back promotion.
Generates its own energy supply, really, doesn't it? It gives you a real boost of, yes, it can be done.
Belief.
Yeah.
Belief.
We had quite a few false dawns when I played it. Everyone wanted. You could feel that they wanted it. You just had to have all the components to actually make it happen from the inside at the end of the day, because they're just waiting to jump on the train with everyone, and that's been proven right.
Can you give us an insight into what it was like in the dealing in the transfer market over the summer months, with the vast sums of money involved in the agents and everything else? Because you're very experienced. So, Luke, you're number 2, very experienced as well, dealing with transfers and stuff. But what was it like this summer?
It's the process is the same, but you're dealing with, we're now fishing in a very different pond, with a much bigger set of numbers, and you make mistakes at that set of numbers, you got a problem. So the due diligence and the detail has to be more, and we work as a really close knit unit, and that close knit unit is really me, Luke, Kieran. That's the tip of the sword. The three of us will talk. Kieran will be the last call I have when I go to bed, and it'll be the first call when I wake up. And I do laugh sometimes because he's the last call I have at, say, 11:30 p.m. And then he calls, and we all know what we're doing. We're doing this tomorrow. We're doing this. You're on this. Yeah, no problem. And then he calls me at 6:30 and say, "Where are we at? What's happening?" I'm going, I've been asleep. But it is you almost all your mind meld into one. You shut the outside world out, and again it is call after call after call. I've literally today, new mobile today, because the end of the transfer window, the other one's just burnt out, you can't not take any call, and I think we're at a probably 70-80% hit rate of our number 1 targets. There were a couple that we moved on, and you get down the line and then you realise this isn't going to be doable and you have to change direction. It's not easy, and you have to I have to manage the noise, so I have to put the noise out, because we're linked with everybody, and but you have to understand, when we're linked with someone, we're linked with them for a reason. The agent is doing it to create a market. The club is doing it because they either want to sell or they want to buy. An agent is doing it to upset another agent to pinch the player. And my job is to get underneath that spider's web with Luke to understand the real state of play and what's going on. And it moves. It's a spider's web that moves every hour, and you've got to stay ahead of it. It's tough. It's been tough for every window. We'll go into January, which was tough. And I think the other thing, obviously, we have financial fair play, and we push to the limit. We said to Kieran, because you talk about the transfer market, the transfer window was tough. But remember, I had 2 weeks before, I've got to re-sign my manager, and I got some big dogs trying to steal our manager. So that had to be dealt with first, because I can't sign a player. If you ask Chambo as a player, if I'm trying to recruit him and he doesn't know who my manager's going to be, he's not going to make a decision until we've got that done. So there was a sequencing of events which were all natural process, but it was, it was tip of the
I was going to say that your best summer signing was Kieran McKenna, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it always was going to be. He's been instrumental to the rise of this club since the day he joined. We work as one. The two of us are the same. We're just totally obsessed with it. And as I'm given the oxygen to do my job by my owners, my job is to put a bubble around Kieran and give him the oxygen and let him do his job unhindered. I'm not at the training ground every day. I don't need to be at the training ground that's his office. He doesn't need to be in my office every single day. We know what we're doing. We trust each other. And you're right. He was the best and the key signing of the summer, because once we'd done that, we could all we could all take a deep breath and move forward again.
There were a lot of rumours around. Truth in some of those?
Absolutely.
Were you concerned by any of them? At any point?
I think I was concerned before them because I knew it was coming. You're in the game long enough. You speak to people. You hear the chatter. You know what chatter to trust. A couple of people call me in the industry and say, "I'm giving you a heads up. You got a problem coming." And the problem was, it was an attraction to bigger clubs than probably most would have expected at that point of his career. But back-to-back promotions, very, very talented manager, was always going to draw attention. As I've said before, my job wasn't to try and persuade Kieran to stay. My job was to sit down with him. We'll look at the pros and cons of each one. You take it away. You then have to make your call. But I am going to give you hard, cold facts of why Ipswich, where we were at, what we can become, what we can do together. This journey's not over. And then he called me one Sunday morning and said again, because we spent most of my house discussing all this, can I come round and see you? And I said, yeah. And he came round and he said, well...
What was your feeling in that point when he made that phone call?
I was actually out at Kesgrave Kitchen with my boy on Sunday morning. I think
there's another one.
Yeah. So it was on the Saturday.
Guaranteed next to sausage next
weekend. It was a
weekend.
Saturday because they don't open on a Sunday.
Yeah.
They need to sort that out. I remember sitting with Jacob and he said, everything all right? I said, yeah, Kieran wants to catch up. And he went, ooh.
Ooh. That's what I mean.
Yeah. He said, I said, so I'm going to go home. You're not coming in. You can go off. And I just had faith in him, I think. I couldn't, in my mind, I couldn't picture him at that point anywhere else other than with us. Yeah. I thought he handled himself extremely well. It's not easy. When you've got adulation and people want you and big sums of money and it's life changing, I thought he was calm, focused, the professional Kieran we all know and love. And he just, I'll be honest with you, he came in, he didn't sit down, he put his arms around me, gave me a hug and said, I want to stay.
Yeah, well, brilliant. I'd actually seen him on, I think it was that Saturday. My daughter was at gymnastics. I think his kids were there, and we had a chat outside. And he was like, "I'm gonna get it sorted." And I was like, "Which way?" And he sort of left me hanging. He left me hanging. I said, "Listen, all the best." And thankfully, the news came out the next day. But that was to be in Mark's shoes in that situation, not ideal.
Relief.
Did he get breakfast at yours? You'd already eaten there, hadn't you?
I think
Coffee.
Did she get out? Get back to work.
No, I think he'd been round on the Friday night, and we'd had a bottle of wine, and I think there was still a bit of the wine left, so we probably finished that off for the breakfast, if I'm honest with you. But then it jumped straight into, then you've got to do the contracts.
Yeah.
And you've got to get the detail right, and you've got to get through the process of that, which all takes, again, it's time, and you've got the fans bombarding you. We want to know what's going on. And you've got to just shut the noise out.
Yeah. And he said, "Go and get me a Mari." Go and get
Here's my shopping list.
There we go.
We're going to have to canter on because we're running short on time. But a quick thought about the start to the Premier League. A tough start. Liverpool, Man City. Thought we played well in both games. The Villa game was unbelievable. How we didn't win that, I don't know. Bad day at the office. I think Wes Burns described the West Ham game. That's going to happen. It's such a big leap for us still, isn't it? And with a relatively new squad. How would you assess the start?
I think you probably just said it well. I think, look, the first two games are almost like fantasy football. You get anything out of them, and you've shocked the world. And we after 5 minutes, we 1-0 up at Man City, and I'm thinking this no chance. But actually, we just poked the bear. The home games, atmosphere, performance, I think has been outstanding. We've looked like what we are as Ipswich. But again, you've got 12 new players falling into a system, learning how Kieran wants them to play. Russ and I were just talking about it. Yeah. We have international breaks. We've now got 9 away. So Kieran can't have them every single day as he would have done. So it's going to take a little bit of time. you know, as someone who was at West Bromwich Albion for 16 years, we don't lose against the Villa. That's not acceptable. We probably should have won the game. Their board said to me after the game they felt they'd got away with that one. And yeah, look, West Ham was a bad day at the office. I don't think we've had too many of those under Kieran. But you know what we'll do from that, and what he always does is he learns and he adapts. So I'm sure that's what we'll do. And we'll go again. It's going to be a tough season, and I am utterly convinced this team will be competitive right to the death. And again, look, we'll go again in January. We'll add in. That's what we do. Yeah. But we're building and we're learning. And we've got to do that pretty quick.
Okay. Well, I think it's been fantastic, and everybody's nodding away here. It's just great to be back, really. It is time, though. It's Life's a Pitch TV. It is time to choose this week's Player of the Week. And Eddie from the Dove is here somewhere. Where are you, Eddie? Hello. Waving's no good. Hey! It's time for the Player of the Week, sponsored by the Dove in Ipswich. So this goes towards our end-of-season awards. And let me run through who the Players of the Week have been so far. Smodix, Greaves, Delap, Ogbene, Murich, Morsey and Delap. Russell, who would you go for this week?
Delap again.
Okay.
3 weeks on the spin, I'm going for him.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's been fantastic. Brilliant. My pick of the bunch.
Chambo?
I'm with Russ. Yep.
Okay.
He's been brilliant.
He has
What
been a great
signing
signing,
so far.
Mark, hasn't he?
Yeah, full house. I think I'd agree with the boys.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, give Delap's our Player of the Week.
Easy stuff.
Right, it is time for Ask the Legends, and this is sponsored by Seckford Golf Club. And Tony's here from Seckford Golf Club with this week's question. No Terry this week, so Chambo, do you want to deputise?
Or Mark can.
Or Mark?
There's legends and there's legends. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's go.
Okay, he's just having a little rest. All right. So
scores on the doors.
The scores on the doors are Russell 5.5, 5.5, and Terry 3.5. So that's how it stands at the moment. Who's going to go first this week? It's your turn, Russ, isn't it?
No, I went first last time.
Did you? Okay. They're very civilised about all of this.
Yeah.
So, Tony.
Will I
this
get
week's
threatened this week? As Terry's
No,
Okay.
you know, I'm a lover.
The question this week is, you'll need to know the history. What year was Ipswich Town founded?
Ooh.
What year was Ipswich Town founded?
Of course, you should know this.
Not really, should I? I'm not a statistician. You know, don't you, mate? It's on the badge.
It's looking around for help and support.
It's you'll go first, yeah.
1878.
What are you going to say, Russell?
I'd go lower than that, 1860.
Well done, Luke.
Luke Chambers, well done.
Spot on.
1878.
Spot on.
1878, yeah, spot on.
1878.
100
well
years
done.
before we won the FA Cup.
There you go.
So it's Terry stroke Chambo, 4.5. Russell, 5.5. Catching up, Russ.
All right.
Pressure's on next week. Pressure's on. Now, look, one thing you promised, Mark, was that I think if Town got promoted, you were going to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
you did, didn't you?
I did, and I delivered.
Yeah.
I delivered.
Give us a quick look.
I'm going to give AJ Felix a shout out because he did a great little job.
There we are. Fantastic. Well done. Well done.
There you go.
Man of his word.
You know what? I actually think, in hindsight, I got it wrong. I actually think I should have had 2 horses back to back.
Oh, back
There's
to back.
still time.
There is still time.
Just be careful how you position them back to back.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I did say earlier on it's a case of show us yours and we'll show you ours. Where's Carl? Come on, Carl. Come over to the microphone over here. Carl Fuller, everybody. He writes to the East Anglian Daily Times. Does his lovely books. Are you going to show us yours?
Which one?
Well,
the first one, I'd have to drop your trousers.
no, I don't think it's okay. No.
Yeah, so at the start of last season, somebody said Town are going to get promoted again. And I said, well, if they do that, I'll get a tattoo done, thinking I'd be safe. And, yeah, so similar to Mark's, I've got the horse. but I've also got running towards adversity underneath it.
Nice.
And I go to the game with about 7 or 8 other lads, and I think 5 or 6 of them said, well, we'll get it done as well. And my friend Jason over there.
Go on, Jason, show us yours. Look, there we are. Look.
And he's got the horse on his leg. I think 3 of us have got exactly the same tattoo because I designed it, but I didn't put any copyright on it.
I think not only did the pubs do well out of Ipswich's promotion, but the tattoo parlours have as well. You know, you probably have to walk in any and get a free one now. You got your book there.
I've got my book. So
Another shameless plug.
Yeah, a year ago I brought out the Game Changers, which was recognition of getting promoted from League One to the Championship. And that was really just a collation of my East Anglian Daily Times column that I put together. And then last season, after the win at Sunderland, I thought we could be on here. I listened to you, Mark. You predicted
Top 10.
Top 10.
Top 10 this week. Promotion top 2.
Yeah, last season.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book as we went along, and I never thought it would come to fruition. So we've got the Game Changers Premier Edition, which is currently in the club shop at Planet Blue. It's on Amazon, and it's just going really well. And this is my 3rd book. The 4th one is due out this month.
Excellent. Can you stick one on here? I seem to be getting I seem to be getting a collection of books here. So yeah, I predicted top 2 last year. Top 10 I predicted this year. Okay.
For the next Game Changers book, Mark, it would have to be a European edition.
Never lost a European tie at home.
Good to see you. Thanks very much
Mark.
for coming in with your friends. Time for our table football challenge, as always, sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics. So, we don't have Terry this week, but we do have Russ and we do have Mark Ashton. So, gentlemen, would you like to come up to our table football? And it's 1v1 this week.
Oh, this can't be fair. This can't be fair. They're trying to get me off the top.
The idea is that you have to score as many goals, Mark, against Russell as you can in 60 seconds. Chambo is somehow or other in the lead with a bit of spinning, with 5 still, untouchable at the moment. So you'll have 60 seconds on my whistle. I'd load a few of the balls up in your pocket so you can get them out quick, so to speak.
So we've changed the rules. So let's see how we go.
They don't bounce, Russ. So when was the last time you played, Mark? It was a while ago, was it? A while ago. Okay. Well, look, you're a good sport. Russell's even taking his glasses off, so he's taking it seriously. Are you ready then, boys? So you'll have 60 seconds on my whistle. So kick off. Oh, there's
Is that a spin?
Well, you can spin. I think Chambo had a few spins, so you can spin. Oh, it's a good shot there from Mark. Oh, nearly a goal. Nearly a goal. Oh.
Got his flag up.
Russell's 1-0 up. Russell's 1-0 up still. Mark doing his best to score from a distance. Bit of defensive work coming. He's holding the ball up at the end. Come on, Russell. Get it into play. Always, yeah. Ooh, very close. Russell still 1-0 up. Oh, there's an eagle. Oh, no! It just wouldn't go in. Oh my goodness me! Lifting the table up to get it in, it still wouldn't go in, would it? Yeah, put your balls back, Mark. Thank you very much. Yeah, good stuff. Give him a big round of applause. Good sport. It's also time now for On This Day in History. That's sponsored by Fred Olsen Logistics.
Right, On This Day in History, brought to us by Dan Botton's
Microphone.
Sorry, Mark.
Pardon?
What? On This Day in History, Dan Botton's book. Mark Ashton succumbed to a 1-0 victory at table football.
That'll be in the next edition.
Sorry, Saturday the 8th of October, 1988. A top of the table Division 2 clash in Suffolk saw Town pip Manchester City 1-0, thanks to Jason Dazelle. Skipper David Linnigan was dismissed with 18 minutes remaining. That was a good win. Tuesday the 8th of October, a dismal 3-0 defeat at Grimsby Town saw George Burley sacked as manager after an 8-year spell. And on the 9th of October 1965, Town crashed to a surprise 4-3 home loss to Bury. There were 7 different goal scorers. Mick McNeil, Gerald Baker, Frank Brogan for Ipswich, and the programme that day cost 6pence. And the last entry, Saturday the 9th of October 1999, midfield dynamo Matt Holland's Republic of Ireland debut was a 1-1 European Championship qualifier in Macedonia.
Yes, Matty O'Holland, as he was affectionately known when
Matty
he signed
O'Holland
for the Republic.
And that's
fantastic. George mentioned George there. Wish George all the best with his recovery at the moment. He's got his cancer battle, as we know. So George, we wish you all the best, and we're rooting for you. And some of the proceeds from George's book that Neil Prentice is putting together, some of the profits from that are going to the Derby Rimmer Foundation in honour of Marcus Stewart, and some of the proceeds are going to one of our charities here, Cancer Support Suffolk. So we thank George and Neil for that as well. And talking of charities, Mark, Foundation is one of ours this year. Going great guns, isn't it? Seeing serious numbers of people now.
It is. We had a meeting yesterday, myself and Dan Palfrey, Matty Holland and Peter Over were in today, looking at different ways, more activities to put on, further growth of the Ipswich Town Foundation. And it serves this community so well, and it needs to keep growing, using the brand of Ipswich Town to motivate and engage the local community. Some great work being done, supported again by Kieran and the players and the staff. Former Players Association supporting too. Some great work being done.
And people of all ages and abilities taking part.
No, absolutely. I think Matty came in today, Matty Holland, and got involved with the walking football. You've heard me talk before, passionately about the Dementia Cafe. And then we've got all the mainstream children's activities too that develop our next generation of supporters. So all ages, all groups of supporters are welcome.
And half-term coming up as well.
It'll be busy.
That's a busy time,
It'll
isn't
be busy.
It really is. Fantastic. Let's take a quick look at Ipswich Town women. Natasha Thomas now holds the record for the most Ipswich Town women's appearances, 217 games. I think she deserves a round of applause. And she's a great ambassador as well, isn't she, for the club?
Yeah, she's actually a trustee.
Right.
She's a trustee on the foundation with Connor Chaplin, so that gives them a legal responsibility. And again, they're passionate about the work they do. Connor drives the activity base into the men's team. She does the same with the women's team. So it's key. And again, it's a big season for Joe Sheehan and the team. We won't hide away from it. We've used some of the promotion money to invest substantially more money into the women's team this season. And let's be really clear, we want to see them get promoted.
Are we going to see them back on the Portman Road pitch this
year?
year?
I'm sure we will at some point. Obviously, there's not so many men's games on the pitch. Kieran and I were talking last night. It's been weeks again since we've played at home, and the pitch can handle it now. So we'll see them back on there at some point.
Because that was a great crowd for them.
Incredible.
10,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. Again, big, almost a comparison to that than the men's first team when we first joined the club. But our women's team go from strength to strength. I saw them play on Sunday against Watford, and whilst it was a 0-0 draw, I think they look really strong this year.
Unbeaten, aren't they, in all competitions?
They look really strong.
Yeah, no, it's good. We wish them all the very best. Right, time for this week's Man v Fat results. Another great week for the Man v Fat lads, as they lost 10.5 kilograms, which takes the season total so far to over 100 kilograms in just 7 weeks, which is an incredible weight loss. Matty Hart was this week's amazing loser, and a big shout out to father and son Danny and Harrison Netzel, who both scored weight hat-tricks. This week's results: Ivory Toast 12, Borussia München Flapjack 11, the Red Hot Chubby Fellas 3, the Red Cat Funts 15, Wickham Waddlers 12, Galatasaray 5, and Barely Athletics 7, Argentina 4. They do say we have a limited availability. If anyone likes football and wants to lose a bit of weight, get in touch with Man v Fat. You can go online and find them that way. Mark, it's been great to have you on the show. What's next for Portman Road? You've done a lot of work. What is next? Are we looking at work on the Cobbold stand, perhaps?
No, I don't think that's the next project. I think we're working on designs and plans for the medium to long term on that. Listen, the club made a decision once before when it was promoted to take that stand down. The timing of that stand coming down will be key. I think the next major piece of work is probably the AstroTurf, fan zone, the front of house offices, main drive, what we do with the land, which was the old Staples building. We're working through plans on those two pieces now. But the big next project now is the training ground, and then we need to focus pretty quickly on that.
Because those of us who are old enough to remember, and you certainly do, Russ, don't you? You know, when the Pioneer stand was built, it didn't go well, did it? We had to lose loads of players.
No, there's a lot conspired against us. So Bobby had left to join the national team as the England manager. There'd been the European ban as well after the Heysel Stadium disaster and stuff like that, and the fact that we'd been knocked out of European football early, and all of a sudden we weren't able to fill those empty seats, and it cost us a lot of money. Everything's escalated out of control, and bit by bit we all got moved on.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Yeah, so it's difficult, isn't it?
No, it is.
Because football's a fickle. You can do everything you can, but you might not succeed on the pitch, and then of course all of the surrounding stuff gets affected, doesn't it?
And that's why you have to build a house of stone.
Yeah.
And whether it's spending on players, whether it's spending on training grounds, whether it's spending on Portman Road, every penny really counts, and we have to be really careful on what we do. But I think we've got a good group of people who run the football club. We've got good owners, got good investors. We're well funded. We did the cap raise, the funding raise, as well as the promotion, so it gives us oxygen again. So I think, we're in a good place, but we've got to keep moving forward, and we've got to keep. The problem in this industry is if you don't move forward at pace, clubs will catch you and they'll go past you. The minute you think you've got this industry won, she kicks you in the bum, and we trust me.
And the investors are solid, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And look, they're challenging. But winning no losing, they're challenging for me. The transfer window shut on the Friday night. On the Sunday morning, I'm on a plane to New York, and I'm in New York for a week with all the investors for the next stage. It doesn't stop, and it can't stop. The minute we stop, we'll roll backwards, and this club's too big and too precious to do that.
Well, it's in safe hands. Give him a big round of applause, Mark Ashton. Really good to see you. Welcome back anytime. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Good stuff. Mark Ashton, everybody. So we're done. We're out of time for this week. Thank you, Capacity Crowd. You've been amazing. Thank you, Chambo. Thank you, Russ. And we'll be back next week as always. And it just leaves me with one thing to say, and that is Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army! Blue Army!
This has been a Life's a Pitch TV production. Main sponsor, DPS Tech. Also supported by Lakens, All About Hearing, Forward Floors, Ginger Pickle, Fred Olsen Logistics, The Dove, Seckford Golf Club, Ashford Wright, John Keeble Cars, Venue 16, The Hudson Group, Come Hither Design, Sound 4 Pro Audio, and Suffolk Sound. Our charities this year: Cancer Support Suffolk and the Ipswich Town Community Foundation.